Yay. Hi, everybody. Yay. I just got myself settled out here, you guys. So I'm going to give myself a second to just get seated and whatnot and set up the camera a little bit better. I wish you guys could see. Man. All right. Well, whatever. I do my best every week. I will take the camera off. Last week, I got so many comments about the hummingbirds. So you can hear them. They sound like snitches, to me anyway. They sound like the snitches from Harry Potter. And so you'll hear them throughout the video. Sometimes you can see them, but if I point the camera up to where the hummingbirds are, you're like where the feeders are, excuse me, you won't be able to see me. So I won't be able to talk to you, and that's not fun. But I do want to show you. Look at this, you guys. Can you see those aspens? What? And a hummingbird feeder. Look at them. I just showed them to you like last week, and they were little buds, and they were just starting to bud, and now they're these beautiful, beautiful green. Oh, hummingbird sighting. 2 hummingbird sightings. Yeah. So listen for the hummingbirds. Know that my favorite aspens, sorry for my hand, are blooming. And it is, oh, look, now you can see them. And it's beautiful. I don't even care that I'm in the shadow. What do you need to see me for? So I'm a little like discombobulated right now because I've been home, I was working, whatever, and I knew I had to do the live stream, and not like last week where I felt like I was a creamer coming in here from the supermarket. This week, Antonio went on his own, and I was home working and just in that hyper-focused place where you're working on something. And I finally took a break just to eat lunch before doing this, and then the get up from the couch to come do this was like, all right, body, get up. You got to go out there. You got to make this video. People are waiting. So I got up. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Miriam. Hi, Karen, Nancy. Good to see you guys coming in. So yeah, so then in any case, like, I got myself off the couch and I thought, oh, I can do this relatively quickly, right? I mean, I can manage to get myself organized. Well, I came out here and I was all ready to go. And then I was cold, so I had to go in and get a sweatshirt. And that's why I'm a little discombobulated. I didn't think that it was going to be this chilly. I was just out in the sun, but without the sun, man, it is cold. So in any case, here we go for today, right? It's been, right, Miriam, we got to take some space. We got to take a break from stuff, and it's good to take a break. I love that I'm taking a break to hang out with you guys. That to me is so much fun. I would do it in real life if we could, but since we all live so far away from each other and I don't want to come down my mountain, we'll have to suffice with this. But I look forward to talking to you guys every week. Legit, I really enjoy doing the live stream. I don't mind doing newsstand. The news is the news. But I really love this part. I love this really kind of intimate thing we have going on here. I don't know how many people actually watch it, and a whole bunch of them I know watch it afterwards, but to the little tiny group of us that managed to make it live, I am so excited to have you guys here every week. Okay, I did a thing for us. Remember I said I would explore the whole situation of the Wi-Fi and see what I could afford and what had to be paid for and all of that stuff. Well, I did my due diligence, and Antonio has purchased for us a Wi-Fi extender that is supposed to make my signal a little bit stronger. So I think next week I am going to attempt to record from down below so you can see the whole yard and have a better view than this, which it drives me crazy that I just had it going. Nope. Oh, there we go. Yay. Okay, good. I'm going to sit in the dark for a minute so you can enjoy that. And I want to be really quiet for like a few seconds because I want to know if you guys can hear the aspens. So stem-wise, they are my favorite stem. They make this, they have like the top of the leaf and the bottom of the leaf are 2 different colors. So when they blow in the wind, it's really pretty to look at, kind of like glitter. And then they make this really sweet sound in the wind. So if you can hear them, wonderful. You get to explore one of my stems with me. I'm sure you can hear the plethora of other birds that we have going on. We had a rainy day yesterday, so all the birds are like, yes, and they're back out in the sunshine. So in any case, I'll move on. I love so much talking to you guys, and I thought, well, today's the day. I want to cover a topic that a bunch of you have asked me about separately, right? And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that are going to watch it on live stream, and come back and watch the recording of our little chitty chat here. Yes, the whistling sound. That whistling sound, Miriam, is the hummingbirds. That's what they sound like. Isn't that nuts? That's what they sound like when they fly. I think that's crazy. And that is a real life hummingbird. Yeah, right there. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about this topic because I keep getting asked about it. And no matter where I go, no matter what it is that I'm talking about, inevitably, this is the question that comes up from you guys. And I think we need to talk about it. So today, we are going to tackle masking. It is, what do I want to say? It's a touchy topic for some of us. It's an uncomfortable topic for some of us. And I think for a lot of us, it's a habit, coping mechanism, whichever way you want to categorize it. And we don't like it. We want to know how to get rid of it. So I get asked repeatedly, right? All the time. Beck, how do you mask anymore? How do you stop masking if you don't want to mask? Should you stop masking? All of these masking questions. And I want to talk about it because I have feelings on masking personally, right? Like I have my personal take on masking. I have some tips and tricks for how you can start to practice unmasking. And I have just some general thoughts about it because it's funny. When I first got diagnosed, it wasn't a topic discussed as openly as it's discussed now. There wasn't that much conversation about it. So I love that we're talking about it big time now, because what I think is that many of us find that if we are masking too much of a percentage of our lives, we are more prone to burnout, more prone to sensory sensitivity, more prone to all of our challenges. I think they all get exacerbated, right, by that. And so because it's a skill set that takes effort, and that effort means that it's taking energy away from things that you could otherwise be doing, which is really frustrating. So how to tackle masking? Well, let's talk about what it is and what it isn't first, right? Let's dispel a myth. Masking isn't just for autistics. That is a myth. Everybody masks. Every human being masks. You've seen them do it. I guarantee you. You've seen, I bet the first ones you could have seen probably were your parents masking. Maybe they had to go to school with you and speak to a principal, and they dressed well and they went into the office and they presented not how they would present at home. And I think when we think about it from an adult space, right, we are thinking about it in terms of how we function in the workspace mostly. I mean, I think that's the place where most of us feel trapped in the masking. I think the workplace is just a hole. It's like a cavern, an abyss. That's the word, an abyss of masking for us. It's just a giant hole that we fall into. But some of us have the unfortunate situation where we need to mask at home or we need to mask in other places, right? And we all certainly learned it at a really young age. But what is it exactly? Well, it's sort of a, I want to say, you almost put the mask on to temper down the parts of your personality that you think are too prickly for the world, right? And I think that's the case for all human beings. When any human being goes to speak to their boss, they don't go into, that was very close. I felt the wind from that hummingbird, yo. I just want you to know that. That was creepy and fun also. So cool. Anyway, continuing. Yeah, so then we all go into our boss in a certain way, presenting a certain way, especially if we're going in there to ask for something, right? And it's certainly not the way we'd sit around on our couch and watch, Tiger King or something. We're not going to do that. That's not how we present. We present differently in both places, right? And so the act of putting on that mask to go in front of that boss person is something that every human being does at some time in their life. So neurotypicals who say they don't understand masking don't understand what we mean by masking, because they too do it, and they need to be pointed out that they do it on occasion. The difference between them and us is that masking for them is a lot easier. First of all, they're not looking to go quite so far away from their true personality, right? And they don't have to mask as often, right? Or for as long as autistics do. So we're masking to cover our very nature, in essence, and we're learning to suppress our instincts, suppress our natural urges, suppress our needs, our wants. All of those things are being suppressed by the idea of masking, right? And by the kind of masking place of living, right? So what to do about masking? Well, it's exhausting. We know that, right? We know that it takes an exceptional amount of energy to mask for extended periods of time. We know it's not sustainable. It usually leads to burnout. And we also know that it's not something that autistics particularly enjoy doing. But it's our number one way to get through in this world. Now, the real question is, should I stop masking? And if so, how? Right? I mean, that's the real question. We all know what it is. We've talked about it a bunch. And we all know why it's so dangerous and why we all want to get away from it so much. But what we don't talk about is how to do it, and where and when and why, right? Because it does serve a purpose. So let's not. I don't like to talk about masking and talk about it as if it's a wasteful tool, because it's not. Everybody uses it some of the time, and to be honest, there is a time and a place where masking makes it easier to get through some situations. And so when people ask me if I mask, still, yes, on occasion I do, and in certain situations I do. Do I want to stop doing that? Yes. Can I? No. Not right now, not with the way the world is today. There are parts of the world and parts of my life and things you have to do as an adult where they are not at all prepared for an unmasked autistic to walk in the door and be treated with respect. And it also, when you are open about your autism, are you kidding? I mean, is that for real? Real, you guys? This is the kind of day I've been having, and I'm trying to hold it in, and I'm just going to let it go right now. I'm totally frustrated by this. It just, everything is frustrating me today. I've had the last 2 days were so exhausting. We had a visiting dog here that was exhausting, and it changed the energy of the house, and we had to move things around, and I loved him and he was great, and I loved spending the day doing it, but I am feeling it today, and so I'm struggling with words. I've been the dyspraxia is like way up here. I've dropped everything that I've touched, and I just feel like my sensory everything is just on that edge where I'm just getting the right sensory, and I just might have a meltdown. And so that's how I felt towards the end of the day yesterday, and I just kind of woke up with it today, because one night's sleep isn't going to do it. You know what I mean? It was that kind of day. Any case, so that was like, oh, come on, really? Just let me do this 20 minutes. Leave me alone, you know? Anyway, back to masking. Sorry. But that was real life. Back to masking. And so, yes, do I still mask? Yes. Are there situations where I feel like I need to mask? Yes. And I do it by spoon counting. If they're my spoons are so precious to me, as is my time and energy, and so it's like here, and I count them like, you know, like Scrooge with his money. I am so particular with my spoons. And so when I look at a situation and I think, well, sure, I could go into the situation openly autistic, and perhaps not masking, and then I open myself up to certain things. I at least have to admit that people will ask me questions, and I might end up talking about autism, and in particular my autism, and that this task may indeed be affected by that whole thing. And when it's something like running to the bank and making some deposits, or pulling money out of one account and putting it into another, or whatever you're doing at the bank, showing up as an unmasked autistic and having a whole conversation about autism, and then asking them to move money for you in today's world doesn't work so great. And it can often mean extending a task that doesn't need to be extended. So taking a task that could take you 1 spoon by masking through it versus 4 spoons if you don't mask through it. To me, the choice is easy. Mask, get through the thing, save your spoons, use them for something you enjoy, right? Would I love the world to all of a sudden open its doors and be willing to accept us freely for all of our amazing autismness? Yes. Does it exist right now? No. And for our emotional safety, for the protection from rehashing trauma, all of that, it is still sometimes better to mask. But what about the unmasking, right? But like, what about, I always talk about it, being your authentic self. What about being true to your authentic self? Well, there's a time and a place for that too. The problem for autistics is we've been spending so much of our time masking and so little of our time being true to our authentic selves, that we find ourselves in burnout and shutdown. right? Because we're not taking care of our basic needs and wants. And what I ask you is to flip that, right? What you want to be doing is trying to spend as much time as possible as your authentic self and as little time as possible masking. So it's not that you're eliminating masking entirely, it's that you're taking it out of spaces where you should, in theory, be able to be your authentic self. Okay. So what I say is that there are certain places that you should not feel like you have to mask. And if you do, some changes need to be made. One of those is home. If you feel like in order to survive in your home life, you need to be masking, I say there's some stuff that needs to be different. And I know for a lot of you, you haven't shared your diagnosis with people you live with, or maybe you live with your parents and you're not comfortable sharing that piece. But what I say is make an effort to then change that from being your safe spot, right? Because it's not truly safe. And what can you do to make that change, right? Because if you can limit your masking to certain places and certain situations, at least you're saving 3/4 of the spoons that you used to spend masking, and only using a smaller amount. Unfortunately, masking is a must in today's world. I don't know how else to say it. The world just doesn't like difference, and the world is set up for a particular way of being, and it doesn't like to change. And people don't like things to happen that are unexpected and that they're not prepared for. And oftentimes that's what happens when you present in a certain way and then you tell somebody that you're autistic. And so I do mask. I mask often when I have to run errands, because I hate running errands so much. Oh my God, I hate doing it so much. So that is my number one place to mask. It just makes the errands easier. I don't need to have a, raw conversation with the lady at the dog food store. And I don't need to have a really deep conversation about what autism is and isn't at the bank. But what I do need to do is be able to do that with my friends, with my family, in my home, and in the places that I spend most of my time, right? Because that is a quote unquote normal or neurotypical amount of masking, right? And so what we end up doing when we do that is we save our spoons, and we get to use it for our authentic self. We get to use it either for alone time if we need alone time, or to do special interests, or to go out in nature, whatever it is that is true to your authentic self, right? Even if it's binge watching TV alone, that is true to your authentic self, and it is part of what you need to recharge. And being able to be that person, to be your raw self, is one of the biggest gifts that we are given by our diagnosis. And I want to say to you guys, do it. Right? I mean, masking is it's a necessary evil to me in today's world. There are lots of them. This is one of them, but it's one of the ones we can use to our advantage. What we want to do is make sure that we're consciously using it instead of unconsciously falling back on it like it's a crutch, or it's just our residual habit and it's easier to just go back into that habit. What we want to do is consciously choose when we're using it as a tool, choose the scenarios in which we're using it as a tool, and that we're willing to use up that kind of energy for this particular scenario, right? But what we want to see, I would love to see it if we did something like 80-20. 80% of the time, authentic self, 20% of the time, you have to mask, right? Or 90-10, that would be great. That's my goal, is 90-10. I'm getting there. But I think everybody has their own goal. But anytime you eliminate some of the masking and you cut it back and you let your real self out into new situations, you're giving yourself a chance for more recharge, and you're also giving yourself a chance to save some spoons up, right? For important stuff, for stuff you care about. So those are my thoughts on masking. I'm sure you guys all have different opinions on masking. We all have different experiences with it. We're all sort of on different parts of the journey of this whole thing, and we all live in different situations. But that's sort of my take on masking. That's how I feel about it. That's how I function about it in my life. And that's how I make the choices about it. And it's not easy. It's about recreating habits. It's about remembering practicing the pause and stopping in the moment and giving yourself that space, right? And not slipping into masking because it's just easier and you feel the pressure. All of that stuff. And I would approach it the same way you approach any of your other struggle areas. Pay attention to your triggers. Pay attention to what situations you feel compelled to mask in, even if you don't want to. What are they? Is it necessary in those situations? Can you change something about those situations so that it doesn't have to be as draining, right? That stuff is in your control. All of that stuff is in your control. What isn't in our control is how society responds to us, how the world stigmatizes us, kind of what the world's expectations are for behaviors. That's the trap, right? The mask can be a tool. What we don't want it to become is a bad habit. And so that it leads to a burnout. What we want to do is use it as a tool and not as a way to escape and avoid all of our situations. So that's sort of my take on masking. I'm going to quickly read through your chat in case I missed something really, really good. Yes, masking around family. Yes, yes, Nancy. I think that's the one that sucks the worst. There are family members that I still have to mask in front of, even if it's partially masked. Even if they know my diagnosis, there are still parts of my personality that I know make them uncomfortable. And I still mask when I have to go to really big family occasions or I have to see people I haven't seen in a long time, right? There are times when it's the thing that, protects fragile me inside, and I need to do that in certain situations. But the family, that's the one that makes me the most sad, but I know it's out there. I had to deal with it myself for a little while. So, yeah. I'm glad to see some of you guys are opening up about your diagnosis and talking to people about it. Oh, yay. Everybody's just kind of figuring. So a lot of you guys are still figuring it out and trying to understand your masking. But yes, Karen, it is. It's the tool and it's helpful, but it can be too psychically costing. Yes, it can be, right? The cost is not in energy, in physical energy. It's in mental energy, right? It's the mental energy it takes to concentrate that hard to suppress your instincts, to suppress your natural state of being. And that's what we're doing when we're masking. And it is exhausting, and doing it too much is too expensive. Literally, think about it like that. It's too expensive to your well-being. It costs you too many spoons if you do it too much. And so figuring out the places where it's safe to be you is incredibly important. If you don't have one, creating and building those places are just as important. That's your responsibility too. So thinking about that stuff. So what I hope you guys will take from today is sort of my understanding, the way that I kind of see the world. I hope I made sense, because I know I'm struggling for words today. But yeah, that's the stuff that kind of, I still deal with it. I still slip into the mask sometimes when I don't want to, or when I wish I didn't have to, and all of those things. But it's up to us each as individuals to decide how much is too much masking, and where we need to use it. Right? I mean, that's an individual decision based on your situations and your relationships. But that's my take on it. And I will be happy to give you more advice on it, happy to give you more tips for kind of eliminating it. But start there. Think about the places that you mask the most, and think about if you want to continue to mask there, or you want to make changes to it. Especially if that place is your home base. All of us, every human being, every living creature needs a safe space. And it's important for you to create one of those for yourself. Yeah. I hope you guys have gotten a little something out of today. Masking is something I keep getting asked about. I wouldn't be surprised if I have to do it again. I know I'm going to be answering a masking question for Asking Spectrum Women, which will be coming out shortly. And I'm sure I'm going to be talking about masking in my course, that's for sure, in my course, which is Self-Defined Living, a Path to a Quality Life, a Path to a Quality Autistic Life, rather. I have a 3-unit virtual course. It is up now on my website. There are multi-unit packages available. I am right now in this moment searching for sponsors for us to see if I can give away some scholarship seats. Please head over to my website and check it out. It's beccalaurie.com. While you're there, sign up for the newsletter if you'd like, and make sure you check out my social media and my writing and everything else I've got going on there. I am so excited to have you guys join me every week here on Becca's Backyard Live. Next week, I'm going to give it a go from downstairs. We'll see if we have a buffering problem. Here comes another jerk right up the road. Yeah. Oh, I really dislike that one car. Okay, I'm gonna get going, and that's about it. I will see you guys on Friday for Neurodiversity Newsstand, and then I will see you again next Tuesday at the same time, 2:20 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, for Becca's Backyard Live, coming from downstairs. All right, we're gonna give it a go then. We'll see what happens, and look out for a poll in Newsstand. I might toss you guys a poll for what our topic might want to be for next week. We'll see. I have some ideas, but I'd like to know which ones you really want. So I might throw you a poll. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I will see you guys on Friday and then again next Tuesday. Have an awesome one. I will see you out in social media. Say hi when you see me. I love you guys. Bye.